but they can wait to start the process. Now, after the commission members are appointed, and they can, the state superintendent appoints the chair to the commission. That starts a different clock running. So from March 7th, I believe they have 30 days to appoint all 5 members. Once the chair of the commission is appointed, then the clock starts, I'm sorry, once all 5 and the chair's there, they have 60 days to appoint a CEO. And quite frankly, that's one of my concerns, that timeline. And a lot of folks don't understand how jobs are found in our line of work. And what I mean by our line of work, educational people in education, teachers, building level administrators, central office administrators. If I'm looking for a job next year, I'm looking now. I interview now, I accept the job now, or in March or in April, excuse me, and then I continue to work here until August 1st, then I go to the district who hired me, if anybody would. So then there's a vacancy, but there are commitments made in the interim, which is my concern. We have a lot of people who are worried about what's happening next. And I've had a lot of people say, Jeff, would you write me a letter of recommendation? You could give me a reference letter. Jeff, should I be looking? And again, as a superintendent and as somebody who recognizes talent, we have a lot of talented people here. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'd heard we had good people, but until I came and actually got to know people, I was overwhelmed with the quality of people that we have here. And the reason why I was caught off guard a little bit is because of the situation we're in. If you go to most districts who are in this situation, if you're looking at it as an administrator, for example, I can go somewhere else, have a lot more job security, probably make more money, different level of scrutiny. I don't have the state looking over my shoulder, measuring everything I do, the level of urgency, all these things happening. So what you would predict to happen was a lot of those good people would leave. They didn't. They're here because they believe in our community and our students. And again, which makes us that much more impressive as a community. But as people ask me, as a human, I'm saying, Jeff, I have a family to feed. What do I do? You should probably look. Because as a superintendent, I have no authority once this new commission's appointed and the new CEO's there. I can't make promises. So it's tough for me to do that. So for us, we wanted to speed the process up. We wanted to say, okay, let's get this thing going. So at least people at least have answers as soon as possible. And if they feel the need to leave, I respect that. But I don't want people to leave because there are too many blanks to fill in, and people tend to fill in those blanks with their biggest fears. So it's very, very, very realistic that this next phase of House Bill 70 kicks in, and it's no different, conceptually speaking. A plan could be the same, a lot of people could be the same. Within the spirit of the law and the code of the law, our board can still be engaged. One more step back. The CEO has the full legal authority of the superintendent and the full legal authority of the Board of Education, except for placing levies on the ballot. That's the only thing the board would be responsible for. So again, board members can't make promises. I can't make promises because until the commission comes in, then, once the commission comes in and appoints a CEO, then I have no authority and they have no authority. So it's tough to make promises. That's why I can only tell people what I think might happen. Now, in my opinion, what I've been trying to stress all along is, let's fill in some of those blanks. If you're asking me to rank things, I would say one of the most important things that we have, I think the top 2. I think, and again, I think we have a very, very solid plan. I think our mantra has been we're running fast. I think we're implementing that plan quickly, but again, respectfully and not too fast, because if you go too fast, things crumble. So I think the plan needs to stay the same. But I think the number one thing that needs to happen for this district to be successful in the next phase is that we don't disengage our Board of Education. And what I mean by that is it's not the governing body. I've worked with some great boards. I've worked with some that weren't so great. So it's not that the concept of Board of Education for us is the quality of people. We have people on the board that aren't here for personal agendas. They got on the board with intent to make things better. So, and my concern is if we disengage them, the community will instantly or quickly lose confidence and the community will disengage. So I think as long as our board is engaged, our community is engaged, we have a solid plan, I think things will tend to follow that natural course of action and things will be just fine. So again, those are questions that we're hoping to have answered more quickly. But that's kind of what it's all about though, right? 13 or 14 more years we have that. So we have to make sure that what we're doing right. So meetings that I've had over the course of the past month or so. Tim Williams, who was the board president last year too, he and I and the mayor went down and met with the governor's office. And we shared with them, quite frankly, went and sat down, and we said, I'm not sure what you're hearing, but here's exactly where we are. We don't oppose House Bill 70. We acknowledge that our students are growing, and they're learning, and we're demonstrating a year's worth of academic growth or more in a year. We understand it's not enough. We have to accelerate growth. We get that. We want your help. Let's figure out how to work these things out together. So what they expected us to go in there being more confrontational, I think. So the conversation was much shorter because what they planned to say was not what was said. We sat down and talked about ways we can look at things. We talked about speeding up the process for the reasons I described. And they said, okay, let's get back with you. A couple questions we have to get answered. We'll get back with you. When I was leaving, there were two people in the meeting. One was the governor's policy person, John, and Merle was his legislative liaison. And while we were talking, Merle got a call and left, and then he came back, and in essence, we talked to the governor, and he said that he appreciated our approach, and he said, if you ever feel like you're being mistreated anywhere along the way in this process, give me a call. And he said, I actually take that back. Call Merle, he'll go home with me, and I'll call you back. And it's held true. We've called Merle a couple of times, and within a few hours, the state superintendent calls us back with answers. So again, I think the state is listening. Again, we wanted to speed things up. The state superintendent met with him a few times. He called up and said, I want to visit the district. And he said, I want to spend 2 days, one day with just you, Jeff, and another day with, and he gave us a list of folks he wanted to accomplish, or programs he wanted to see and people he wanted to meet. So the original meeting was, he wanted to meet with me on a Sunday and then stay for a Monday. Long story short, and originally it was scheduled for me to meet with him on Martin Luther King Day and for him to come back to meet with the district in sometime in February. And he said, that's not soon enough. So again, when people were working on it, he made things happen sooner. So I spent Martin Luther King Day with him, and we just sat out and talked data, we talked process, we talked where we are as a district. And then he spent the night, he spent Tuesday in our district. And he said, Jeff, what I want to see, I want to visit 3 buildings, elementary, middle, and high. And he picked out a couple of the buildings, the middle and the elementary, because of outliers on test scores. We had some people doing great things, he wanted to see it. So again, the fact that he was focusing on positives, I think, is an indicator that he's not here to smack us down. He's here to see what's going well and how we can build off that. He wanted to meet with a group of students, and we have a superintendent student advisory council. I meet with students that are freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, and we talk about how to make Lorain City Schools a better place to be. He met with them. He met with a group of students who are in Titan College and Career Tech, and he met with our high school. And because it was finals, he didn't get to see a class like he did in the elementary school and the middle school, but he sat down and had a very, very candid conversation with one of our teachers. And again, throughout the course of the day, we didn't publicize this for a lot of reasons. Number one, we didn't want people to act differently because he's coming in and we put on a show and it comes across as disingenuous. I'm in our buildings on a daily basis. I'm in our classrooms on a regular basis. I had no doubt our people would perform well without having to be prodded or prompted. So, and again, that's exactly what we saw. We saw great things. He sat in 2 different classrooms, saw great lessons, talked to teachers. Oh, and he also met with a group of teachers after school and shared a lot. So, and listened a lot. So in terms of what happens next, again, I'm not in a position to make any promises or any guarantees, but my opinion, and because of the process they're following, I'm hopeful. He's a pretty busy fellow. He just started about 6 months ago, and he's overwhelmed. But he took 2 days to spend here in Lorain to get to know us better, to get to know what our struggles are, to get to know our strengths. And when we talked to people ahead of time, I said, don't hide anything from him. If things were perfect here, he wouldn't need to come. But there are some areas that we have blemishes, but we have plans. So it's not about being perfect. It's about having a plan to address our weaknesses and to grow in our strengths. And that's what he heard. Now, and I appreciate the rationale, but he didn't share anything. He sat there like he was in a poker tournament, flat, stone faced, and just kind of stared at us. Everyone took information in. People asked questions. They were very direct and about people, and he answered in a way he interpreted law without answering questions about people. So, and I appreciate that for a couple reasons. One, he shouldn't share his biases, not then. First of all, he needs time to process. But if he shares his biases, and they're quite frankly not his opinions to have for some levels. Like he's talking about a great program, And then the commission, it's their responsibility to hire a CEO, not his, theirs. And if the CEO disagrees with some of the things that the state superintendent and city liked, it just creates confusion and conflict. So again, I think he understood his role, which was to gather information to help him identify the right 3 people to appoint to the commission, who will appoint a CEO, who will take over, quite frankly, the governance of our school district. The questions, I got 5 minutes, I got the 5 fingers a couple seconds ago. So let me throw in a couple things here real quick because these are big questions that I get, and then I'll shut up and listen to questions. Number one, what happens over the years, a lot of rumors out there, and just to clarify what could happen, and again, doesn't mean it has to happen because there's a continuum of things that can happen. So I'm not saying this to scare you, but these are questions I get all the time, and I just want to take a couple seconds to address them. Number one is the charter school concept. After 2 years of the CEO being there, the CEO can designate any school in our district that's struggling as being a charter school. All of a sudden, high school is a charter school, and it's done. That's how the law is explained to me. Doesn't have to do any schools, but can do all schools or one school or anywhere on the continuum. After 2 years, it can be a charter school. After 3 years, the CEO has full access to all negotiated agreements. So teachers union, the only thing they can't touch, or any union, the only thing they can't touch is salary and benefits. And the other piece with administrators, which is why administrators are nervous, the CEO can replace everybody. And any contract that's signed into before October 15th of 2015 is meaningless. So if Erin is an administrator of the district and she signed her contract after 2000, and if it's renewed, that's a new contract. So any contract that's been renewed or modified or new after October 15th of 2015, it's been explained to me by attorneys, is meaningless. And it's scary. Again, people have families to feed. So again, that's why for me it was critical for the state, still is critical for the state to speed this up so people at least know who we're talking about and who we're dealing with. And again, and I'll close it up here after questions, but I don't want to leave my conversation on a negative note. If you're asking my opinion, based on the process they followed, based on a conversation I personally had with the governor, based on the process the state superintendent's following, I'm optimistic. I really am. It would have been very easy for all of them to sit in Columbus and say, yep, blow it up, start all over again. Give them a CEO. The CEO's first job is to engage the community and come up with a plan. So we're going this direction, and the fear is all of a sudden now we're going in this direction. And teachers get dizzy because that happens all the time. And the promise we've made is we're going to focus on a few things we've done very, very well. So again, I think that's part of where we are. But again, it would have been very easy for him to spend 2 days in Columbus or with his family or doing anything else. He spent them here learning about us. And I truly respect and appreciate that process.